Hello, it is me, internet personality Ginzaki, with the Midnight Gamers podcast, with return guests Bulbazak
Yo.
and Eddie Fenix.
Greetings.
He's not much of a guest, he's the co-host. Whatever. Um,
I
Today we're here to talk about gaming news and news about gaming. So, one thing. We do it very well.
Real quickly, I just have to ask: at what point will you start saying, "Man, I don't have any guests. I just have regular co-hosts. They just pop up every once in a while."
Probably next episode, or maybe never, I don't know.
Yeah, you never know.
Maybe I'll introduce myself as a guest next time. We're a
Yeah.
podcast of all guests. The guy recording just sits in a studio and masturbates to our voices. What can I say?
Oh boy.
All right, the first topic we're going to be handling is Max Payne's new system for handling cheaters. And if you haven't heard of this, essentially they're taking, if you use mods against the game or take advantage of glitches, they're going to put you in the kiddie pool, and you can only play with other people in the kiddie pool. And if you cheat while in the kiddie pool, then they ban you for good. And I like this system. It's similar to what other nations do with their prisoners, in that you allow them to do what they normally could do, except you put them in isolation. So you make them want to be back in general population. And they said that they might actually allow you to go from the kiddie pool to the regular pool eventually.
Now, when Eddie actually told me about this story, I thought that they're just being put in a pool together. Not maybe you can catch me up.
Yeah, that's what they're putting all the cheaters together, and the cheaters can only play against other cheaters. But if they're caught cheating against the other cheaters, then they get banned for good.
figured if they were cheating against the other cheaters, it would just see who could be the biggest cheater and just cheat your way to win.
Yeah, why not? They're
Yeah, that's
cheating
what I
anyway.
thought it
Just let them go.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, and I actually kind of agree. But this system, if it acts as a rehabilitation for people who ruin other people's day, then ultimately it's a net gain.
Yeah, I like the sound of the system. I do. Now, will I ever play Max Payne 3? Probably not. So, that kind of moot point for me. But yeah, if other multiplayer games will use similar systems, I mean, there you go.
To be perfectly honest, I wouldn't mind seeing it implemented into other games, such as like Halo Reach, or just like the next Halo game, the next Gears of War game, whatever the next game that's gonna come out that has mods or whatever in it. So these people in their own little kiddie pool, and let's just see how they all just have fun with themselves.
Wow, that can be taken so many different ways.
Yep.
Well, let them be in the kiddie pool then.
Next thing we were going to talk about is, and this is actually one I've been thinking about as well. David Jaffe, the creator of God of War, is saying that he believes that the next console, the Wii U, the PlayStation 4, and the Xbox thing, will be the last wave of consoles. And I actually kind of agree with this. With consoles becoming miniature computers of themselves, why not just axe your console altogether and make a peripheral for a computer, and then make your games for the computers to use the peripherals you've made?
Honestly, for me, I highly doubt it, because if there's money to be made when it comes to selling big game systems, these companies are not going to stop just right there until we actually probably hit virtual reality.
Well, that's why I think of the system with the peripherals, because with the consoles, the bulk, they lose money on the console, but they remake their money by selling games and taking a cut. Like, I think it's $7 out of every $60 game they sell. They get back as a licensing fee. Now, if they were to do the same thing with their peripheral, charge a licensing fee to use the peripheral for your game, which people could easily get around probably, but still, it would be a way to circumvent the cut or the losses they would take by creating the console in the first place.
I'm kind of, I guess you could say, torn right now, because I can see the point. On one hand, I don't think companies are not going to start making consoles, not going to do this or that because there are going to be some gamers who are tied to the idea of consoles. But it's one of the things you either evolve or die. So I guess it just depends on exactly where the media takes. I was asked a few months ago by somebody when I was in a used game store, about computer gaming. I basically said I'm not a computer gamer. I mean, there are people who don't consider themselves computer gamers.
I
So
was
I
one of those
mean,
people for the longest time.
yeah, those people are going to be a lot more reluctant to leave their consoles. Will it
That's
happen?
why I like
I
the
don't know.
peripheral idea. Make the leaving the consoles as friendly as possible.
To be honest, I'm wondering about the consoles because this idea is, as technology advances, consoles. The idea of making money is becoming more and more unsustainable, and it's going to get to the point where you're not going to be able to have it. You're not going to be able to have this competition the way it is, or the consoles are going to become so expensive that gamers will voluntarily leave consoles to go to computer or older consoles. So I mean, it's getting to the point of unsustainability. Now, I do believe that David is right, but for my own personal reasons. So yeah, I do agree this will probably be the final wave of consoles before we get to that unsustainable point.
Yeah, I give it this wave or the next wave after, but I don't think it'll last beyond that.
It's got to stop eventually, but you never know with people. I mean, there's new ideas, there's new ways to bring people in, and there's you just never know.
Yeah, the future is uncertain.
Exactly. But then again, we're all supposed to die in December, so
Yeah, I guess it doesn't count because we'll be dead anyway.
That depends if you translate it that way, but who knows?
Oh, speaking of Mayan calendar, apparently there's been a game of Civilization 2 or Civ 2 going on for 10 years that is now in the nuclear apocalypse stage.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, Splinter Cell movie. Way to go, Ubisoft.
No.
When was the last time there was an actual good video game movie?
I liked Resident Evil Degeneration, but that was an anime, so it doesn't really count.
I guess it's possible, but you're gonna have to have a dedicated team, kind of like you kind of have to have the right people to make a really good adaptation of a novel.
But there's always the chance that if they just decided to play it tongue in cheek, because Splinter Cell has never been a really good written series of games. I know nothing about the books they're based on, but the games themselves are kind of stupid.
Yeah.
So if they played it that way, I think it could be fun.
I would think if they're going to license it for the movie, it's not going to be licensed towards the video game crowd. It's probably going to be licensed towards those for the action movie crowd, the people who actually like Tom Clancy movies.
Oh, so Arnold Schwarzenegger is Sam Fisher.
Yeah, I think that's why one of the main reasons why when the first time I heard about I mean, you hear about different movies like the Prince of Persia movie. I don't think that one actually caught on.
It was, from what I saw, it was okay.
Koizumi liked it.
It wasn't bad. It was just okay. Let's see what Disney does. I don't care.
But it's just one of those things where movie adaptation, or at least movie adaptations for just about anything that's not quote animated, when you try to live action it, usually comes up terrible. Avatar.
I'm of the opinion that it can be done, but like I said, you're going to have that dream team, the ones who are willing to see it done and see it done right.
And not movable.
Yeah, the same thing has to be said when you're taking a novel series or an epic novel to the screen. If you don't have people who want to see it done and done right and are not fans themselves, it's not going to be done right. And the same for a video game adaptation.
Exactly. That's why you really shouldn't do it in the first place.
Speaking of why you shouldn't do it in the first place, BioWare is considering making the Old Republic free to play, and
isn't it? I'm sorry, isn't it already free to play right now up to level blah 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 blah, like almost everything else?
I believe so.
It's level 15 for right now, so
I heard level 25 actually.
It might have upped. I just know they're considering making the whole game free to play, which for me, as I said, this is a note on things you shouldn't do in the first place. And the Old Republic tried to unseat WoW as a MMO powerhouse by trying to replace WoW with space-themed WoW. Why would you do this?
Mainly because they thought, oh, hey, let's just tack on Star Wars on the front of it. Scrap our idea for Knights of the Old Republic and kind of like throw this into a new kind of thing. It's Star Wars, guys. Come on. I mean, come on. Here, just throw it out there. People will buy it and gobble it up.
Yeah, it's the sad part. Not much more to say on that. It's happening. The IDOS developers seem to be leaving, or the ones behind Thief 4. So if you were interested in seeing Thief 4 get completed, that might take a while longer, or they might axe the whole project altogether.
Huh.
But in good news, the Humble Indie Bundle 5 earned $5.1 million in its 2-week run.
Woot for indie people.
Indeed. Now, I was told that Amnesia was thrown into that bundle as a way to advertise for the Amnesia sequel, A Machine for Pigs. And if so, good job. Very good job. Earned a lot of money for charity. Can't ask for more than that.
I know right now that there was one going on earlier today that was it was a Gears of War one. There's also the Speed Gamers right now that they're raising money for the ACT charity by playing Pokemon a lot. There's a couple other ones. I heard one was going to be a Legend of Zelda one. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good time for charities all around, it seems. Let's see. I saw pictures for you sent me this, Eddie, the Valve working on the Left 4 Dead prequel. It looks like we're going to see some of the iconic areas from Left 4 Dead before they got destroyed and zombieized.
Yeah, I saw that too. It looks like they are also going to be kind of revealing like the origin of the whatever caused the zombie apocalypse in Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, I think they call it the plague or something, like the sickness, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I guess it's like a Left 4 Dead prequel / what was the other one? It's a sequel to another game. It's kind of like this crossover type deal.
That sounds interesting.
What was it called? It was the heist game.
Oh, I have no idea. Unless that's the name, in which case, again, I have no idea.
Let me bring it up real quick.
Anyway,
He finds that apparently Valve also brought on an economics professor to study in-game currency for the games Team Fortress 2 and Dota 2, Defense of the Ancients 2. Which sounds interesting.
It'd be a good thing, but at the same time, it's just eh. I mean, I don't know why you would really need to bring in an economics professor to study your in-game economies.
Probably just to make them better, streamline them. Because, the EVE Online guys brought in their own economics professor, and look at how that game went. It's an economics powerhouse.
True.
Okay. The sequel game is Payday the Heist. It's a sequel
to that one.
It's a sequel. Wait a minute. Where am I? Everything is so okay. So it's a sequel to it's a prequel to Left 4 Dead and it's a sequel to Payday, and I think the official title is Payday No Mercy. Something like that. Payday, I don't know. So I don't know. I guess it's just something to keep an eye on as you go forward.
Yeah, definitely. We'll probably be talking about it again in the future.
More than likely.
Diablo 3 sold 1 million copies, though the overall sales for the entire industry is down 28% from last year, but then again, it is the summer. Releases aren't as good in the summer.
That's the thing that gets me is like, hey, game sales are down at this time. It's like, yeah, because nothing comes out. If you release something, I mean, hey, I'll go and pick it up. But if you don't release me something,
Yeah, a lot of them want to get their releases out in time for the Christmas season, though. If World of Warcraft puts out Mists of Pandaria at that time, it will be equally as bad
that's
season.
what that's what grabs me. It kind of like shakes me at my core because it's just like there are so many games that come out in a flood. Like in October, I'm already looking at picking up a game a week, and it's just like with college and everything, I can't keep up with it.
What's it? Guitar Master X7 last year did a month of the empty wallet for November because of the flood of games coming in then. I believe it was Skyrim, Skyward Sword, a new Call of Duty,
Assassin's Creed
Assassin's Creed.
Revelations.
I mean, this year we're already looking at Assassin's Creed, Pokemon, Dishonored, Resident Evil 6, Halo 4, Call of Duty. I mean, it's like, Jiminy Christmas.
Eddie, I think you could say Call of Duty every year.
Yeah.
I know that, but
Though this does raise one of the things I was thinking of is if you don't want to hit the crunch at the end of the year, save up a little money each month leading up to the end of the year, and then boom, you shouldn't have much trouble affording all the games that come out.
yeah, still, it's just there's a mountain of them, and it's like I know some people want to be able to sit down and just play through them, be able to get a lot of the achievements, and then move on. But it's just like you got
If you want to play every game that comes out, you're out of luck. There just
I
isn't enough
know.
time in the day.
especially if you've got to work or if you've got college, and
Let's see. Neversoft is working on a Call of Duty game.
no,
Whoopee.
just no. It can
This is
end
news
now.
why.
The way I look at it is, it's Neversoft is the company that does all of the skateboarding games, Tony Hawk games, and maybe they're just looking for a new perspective in the Call of Duty series. Get the people who've never done anything but skating games, give them something to do, and of course that's being general. I believe they have done things other than skating, but skating is their big niche.
The new Call of Duty game. You can kill people while riding skateboards.
I will come to Florida and strangle you, monkey. I swear.
Especially if it ends up being
Ah!
true.
Actually, that would be an interesting game. Just pick up a skateboard, get on it, start gunning people down. And of course, in the Middle East or World War II, depending on which side it is.
Middle Eastern World War II.
I scoop. I quit.
Middle Eastern World War II.
Yes.
Just combine the two.
You're storming Normandy for the umpteenth time, and there's some people screaming at you in Arabic.
Now
Why?
here's a fun one. South Korea is looking to ban the trade of in-game items to get their people to do productive things instead of playing MMOs. This comes on top of a previous law they set into place giving a curfew for online gamers. You can only game online for a certain number of hours per day.
I would ask how they expect to enforce that, but you know what? This is the East Asian country, so of course they're going to enforce it.
Exactly.
I just
And
find it
it's-
hilarious that, they're trying to enforce these kinds of things and they have to put these restrictions in place. I mean, it's nuts, but
Yeah, it's nuts, but what can you expect? They are known for the plague of people who are just game themselves to death. And
yeah,
I
that
say
is
plague,
true.
Of course, over.
And
So,
StarCraft
so
2 players. There's a lot of Korean StarCraft 2 pro players.
Let's see. Microsoft Smart Glass has apparently been announced to pretty much be the Wii U controller in everything but having buttons on the side. Just turn your smartphone or tablet into a touchscreen for the 360.
Well, I think I said this last week, and I don't think that Smart Glass was a reaction to the Wii U per se. I think it was Microsoft's reaction more to Apple. I think they were really trying to gun for Apple with the smartphones, with the tablets. I think that's what the smart glass is for.
Yeah, I still agree
My,
with you that it's a attack on, or it's an attempt to ape on Apple, but in the same sense, it's also going to end up doing similar things to what the Wii U was hoping for.
yeah, I can see them actually turning the smart glass now that it's coming out in development to attack the Wii U more. But those people who say that it's reaction to the Wii U, I think, are actually wrong in this case, because Microsoft is actually more concerned with what Apple is doing than what Nintendo or Sony is doing at this point.
Hmm. And of course,
Now
the last bit.
give it about a year or so, and it'll be completely different.
Yeah. And for the last bit, I collected the War Inspector saying that ultra violence in games is too much, going overboard, and I don't really see where he's going. Is he just looking at the games industry through a tent of God of War?
Well, I was going to ask, how would you define ultra violence? Because
Yeah, I have plenty games on my shelf that are violent, but they're not ultra violent. Like, what's it? Halo. The most violence you see is you shoot someone and there's a spray of blood. You don't even blow their head off. So what?
yeah, I would like to know what he means by ultra violence, because it's hard to react to something when you're like, okay, there's violence, but what is ultra violence? Am I missing something here?
The only thing I can think of for ultra violence is Dante's Inferno, God of War, those games where you can dismember someone for your own entertainment.
There's always going to be those games, but in the same sense, it's going to have its own little following. Not every gamer is going to be playing those type of games, because
Exactly. Like I said,
everybody still has their tastes.
Yeah, I think he's hopelessly naive in this possession, because gaming, there's always going to be those games, like you said, but most of the games are going to shy away from that just for fear of causing too much controversy.
And to be honest, some of these games where you could say they're ultra violent because of how violent they are, a lot of the time it's in pure parody. I mean,
Exactly.
it's just so over the top that, as somebody said, I forget where the quote was, that it's pretty much the equivalent of Wile E. Coyote and an anvil. It's just so over the top that it actually ends up being funny.
But
Oh,
it's
exactly right.
violent.
That's what I thought of God of War 3 when Kratos was ripping off Hermes' legs to get his boots. It's like this isn't supposed to be taken seriously anymore. They're just having fun with their job at this point.
I would say, like, most ultra-violent games, that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to just, make stupid crap like that up. I mean, like, take a look at Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat is not Mortal Kombat unless you have those ultra-violent brutality finishers. If you take those out, which they did, I believe, for a couple of years, and then it's like,
they took it out for the Super Nintendo port.
I'm not saying,
which is why people flocked to the Sega Genesis, by the way.
No, I'm not going for that. I'm going for mainly, like, in the most recent years, when they decided to take those out of the games.
Yeah, I've
If I
never been
remember
able
correctly,
to pull off a fatality on my own, so I never really noticed that.
if I remember,
I had a hard time pulling off special moves on my own, so.
But if I remember correctly, some of those games didn't sell very well. But then again, it could just be my own memory just coming back to kick me in my hind end, as it usually does. So I digress. I'm rambling.
I'm actually surprised that they left the fatality system in for DC Universe.
How are you going to pull a fatality on Superman? Is going to be the question.
Exactly. Especially,
well, Batman can do it.
Like
Batman has
Scorpion's fatality.
Whose fatality?
Scorpion.
Oh.
The one I'm thinking specifically is the one where he rips your head off, spinal column and all, or was that Sub-Zero?
I don't know, but I'm now getting the picture of him trying to rip Superman's head off. 1 second, man. Seriously.
Can you step out of the sunlight,
I don't know.
please?
Somebody do it. There's a comedy sketch, and that's comedy gold in there. Somebody do that.
Oh, you can get so much fun out of Superman.
And then just have Batman come behind and it's like, dude, this is how you do it. And then he does it to Superman.
That's a
Just-
dorkly
just-
waiting to happen.
Just because Batman does have the kryptonite ring or whatever.
Like, here's how you do it.
All right, and you wanted to do the G4's top 100 video games. I guess time to rip this apart.
Oh my word! If anybody's been paying attention this week, it's been a week-long thing. G4's been counting down their list of the top 100 video games of all time. I mean, I'm just going to say right now, no matter what, no matter who you are, whether you're G4, whether you're Nintendo Power, whether you're IGN, it's always going to be difficult coming up with a list like this, just because you have so much to cover, especially if you're covering all video games at any point of time on any system, period.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through the list and looking at random names, and I can say that some of the things they put in here, they definitely pushed over much more interesting titles. Because if you ask me to find a list of 100, the hardest part wouldn't be finding all 100 games. It would be taking the hundreds of games I'd have to choose from and boiling them down to 100.
And even so Eddie's like, well, we could try to put up to 100. I'd have a hard time for even us putting together a list of 100 titles, just because to do something like this is you'd have to consider every single game for every single console ever. For smartphone, I mean, there's too much to choose from. There's no way.
And looking at this, they definitely tried to do that. I mean, where was it? Number 48, Tecmo Bowl. Really?
Well, there were some where I did not mind them. I just thought that maybe they should have been moved, maybe down on the list or maybe up on the list.
Yeah,
but then there were some games that just came out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, for the sake of argument, I'm going to look at the list as a whole and not the placement on the list, like whether this game should be on the list at all.
You want to work our way up, or you want to?
Yeah, let's go down to the bottom and work our way up from 100.
Okay. I actually have no problem with number 100, which is Pong.
Yeah, Pong is the game that started it all.
I think that's a good starting point. However, 99, I start to wonder, now that I've seen the list as a whole, I mean, my reaction is those first couple of nights watching this, I really wasn't nitpicking this list too much, because I thought, well, maybe those games, like in the second half, the top half of the list, will be so amazing that I can gloss over this. But as I got further into the list, now I can start to take issue with some of these games. And I mean, be honest, Eddie. Be honest, Ginzaki. Was Words with Friends really so incredible that it deserves a spot on the top 100 list?
No.
Only for its addictive quality. Everything else, no.
I mean, really, glorified Scrabble. Is it that good?
It's only good for Facebook and maybe your iOS phone. That's about it.
But to put it on a list of the top 100 video games of all time.
It'd be much better if it was Draw Something. Draw Something, much better than Words with Friends.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's probably on this list, though. If they put Words with Friends in here, Draw Something is somewhere on this list.
Oh, no, it's not. Trust me.
Oh, come on, then. Draw Something. Number 99. I'm changing it. It's now Draw Something. I'm actually doing that, physically changing it on my list.
He's going to hack into G4 and change it.
All right, number 98, Pitfall. I never played this game. This is an Atari game. But I've seen people play it. I don't get it.
I can see if you're going with influential. That's another thing I have to ask. How did they put together this list? Were they going for, however many copies they sold? Is that how they placed it? Were they going for influence? Because if it's influence, I can understand the number one spot, which we'll get to. But if it's just what we would consider top 100 games, then this list makes no sense.
Exactly.
Pitfall, I mean, I could maybe understand Pitfall being in the back 10. But, it's one of those games that it was influential, but doesn't stand up well. Some of these games do not age well.
Oh,
period.
Very, very true.
And, and the thing with Pong is, yes, it's an old game, but you can still play it and enjoy it today, where Pitfall, probably not.
Yeah, I think Pong aged very well because I have a copy of it, Game Boy Color, and it's just themed Pong. And it is a blast to play when you're bored.
So many people have done Pong games. I mean, it's a classic.
All
So
right,
yes,
number
it deserves its spot on the top
97,
100.
NBA 2K11.
I'm just going to say this before we get much further into the list. Me personally, maybe I don't get the appeal because I am not a quote unquote sports gamer. Okay,
Mhm.
but really, are some of these games that are coming up 97, and there's a game coming up further on the list? Was that game so incredibly good that deserves a spot on the list? I mean, me not being a sports gamer, I'm thinking there has to be games that are better than it. Was NBA 2K11 that good?
I don't know. I'm actually going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and maybe this is the best basketball game that's ever been. I don't know.
Oh, wait
Benefit
until
of
we
the
get
doubt
further up
here.
on the list.
Yeah. Um,
I was more along the lines of an NBA Live fan, but that was just me back in the 90s.
yeah,
So
I've never played a basketball game, so I'm, like I said, benefit of the doubt. I'm assuming this is the best basketball game ever made, and that's why it's
Well,
on the list.
Well, I think my problem, I guess, with the sports game in general is, for the most part, is kind of like Call of Duty, their annual installments. You know, of course, NBA 2K11 is going to be the best basketball game because it was released last year. It's they release these every single year, and then everybody who bought the game last year will get rid of their
Yeah,
old
but if you
copy.
fall in Madden, they've had, if I remember correctly, they had a few year stint where the games were just getting worse before they got better again.
Yeah.
So it's
But
not
what happened?
always the newest one is the best. Sometimes they try to innovate and screw it up.
Yeah. My point is that it's a yearly thing. What happens is your old titles go to the used game stores and end up being these bargain bin titles that that the people at the used game stores are begging you to get off their hands.
Oh yeah.
They're essentially
I've
saying,
actually
"Hey,
considered buying them and making a wallpaper of game discs. 96, Guitar Hero 2. I actually completely agree with this being on the list because I think Guitar Hero 2 was the last truly amazing game to come out of the rhythm game genre.
And that's what they actually said about Guitar Hero 2 was that it actually improved on Guitar Hero 1, and it was the best the series had to offer.
Yeah.
And it kind of perfected on everything.
Yeah.
And I played
Guitar
it.
Hero 3, Legends of Rock, it was a letdown because there was only one legend in it. Some people say Tom Morello is a legend, but I don't. If you ask a random person on the street who this person is and they can't answer you, they're not a legend of rock.
exactly. And see, for me, when it came to like the Rock Band versus Guitar Hero kind of series, I got really pissed off with Guitar Hero when it became a freaking like a quarterly release. When they released 4 in 1 year, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you people?
Well, I think that the people behind Guitar Hero realized that as well because they tried to step back, but by that point, the oversaturation was too late.
Yeah.
And that's what made me like Rock Band so much more.
Now I'm actually Googling this next one. It's called Burger Time.
I've actually heard of it because the reason I heard of it was because there was a group that was working on an updated version for WiiWare a few years ago. It didn't do very well. But that was the only time I heard about it. Basically, you run around, you get chased by classic arcade thing from the 80s. They
Yeah, it looks
chase
like
you.
you climb ladders across things that look like burgers.
Yeah, but besides the one thing I heard from WiiWare, it's relatively unknown. At least I had heard of Pitfall. At least I had heard, you've heard of all these arcade games.
Yeah.
Burger Time is relatively unknown. What's it doing on this list?
Exactly. No, it doesn't belong there.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm assuming what the gameplay is, and there are other better known games that use this type of gameplay. So the only thing I can assume is maybe this is one of those unknown gems that there's more to it than you can get out of a screenshot. That's the only thing I can think.
My gut tells me no. It's pretty much
looking
your
at the
typical
rest of the
classic.
list, probably not.
It's your typical classic 80s arcade title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you're going to play a game of this era, go play Pac-Man, Dig Dug, Galaga, something. Centipede. Play Centipede.
You can play Centipede on YouTube, easy enough.
Well,
All right.
Yeah.
Number 94, Braid. Completely agree again. This is, it's different, and it's different in a good way. You're not going to find another game like it.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the thing. It sounded really interesting. I mean, if you're going just off of the time reversal mechanic, there's other games with it, but from what I hear, it does very well. So,
Yeah, I have it on Xbox Live and PC. It's the time reversal mechanic plays very well. It's puzzle based. You got to solve a puzzle by reversing time or whatever time gimmicks in at the time. The story is where it kind of falls because the story takes place in text dumps, so it could have been better integrated, but for the time. Not
What do you
much
mean
to
for the
say
time?
about
It wasn't released long ago.
So my mind farted.
Yeah.
I said something and then completely blanked.
Moving on.
Moving on, TIE Fighter. Yes.
I had never heard of this game before this list. Never heard of it. So I mean, for that, it's kind of like what you said about Legends of Rock, and kind of like what we said about Burger Time. If you're a gamer and you can't recognize the name,
Well, you're a
it probably
console
should.
gamer. PC gamers know this game because this is the epitome. This is what started the love for flight simulation games.
So maybe in that regard, TIE Fighter, I just didn't recognize. I had never heard of the game. They're talking about it's a classic arcade game. It's like, I haven't heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, like I said, because you're a console player, you're not going to have heard of it. But go ask a PC player about TIE Fighter, and they can probably tell you about TIE Fighter.
They'll be able to give you like the history of it and everything.
Yeah, and the history of it isn't so much the game itself as the community that flourished around the game, making mods for it and making it into a more interesting experience for everyone involved.
Well, then the question is, again, this is one of those things about influence and all that stuff. As the game itself, does it deserve to be on the list? Because people are modifying it, and like you said, it might just be the community itself that has raised it to such a degree.
Possibly. I think it's worthy of the list because I think it opened the door to what the flight simulation genre can be, and also computer modding in itself. So I guess I am saying that yes, I believe the legacy it created is why it belongs on the list, not so much the game itself.
And I guess that's good enough for a back 10 game.
Yeah, it's 93. I don't think I'd put it higher either. But yeah, really good game. 92 Galaga. I don't know. I might have put Galaxian, but it might still be on the list.
No, it's not. Trust me.
I freaking love this game.
Now, I mean, unless I'm getting my history wrong, I believe Galaga was actually a sequel to Galaxian, or was Galaga first?
I'm not sure. Quick Google.
I believe Galaxian was the first game, and Galaga was a sequel. G4 actually got this wrong. G4 actually stated that was a pseudo sequel to Space Invaders. I guess it kind of was, but it's actually a sequel to Galaxian. It's the second game in the series.
Yeah, I can see how it would look Space Invaders-ish. The sprites were always a little. They look similar to the Space Invader sprites, but the Space Invader sprites were very simple.
Yeah. Well, then again, we're talking about an actual genre. There's going to be similarities.
Yeah. Let's see. It is a sequel to Galaxian, yes.
So G4, you got your facts wrong. It's not gonna be. It's not the first time. It's not gonna be the last, as we're gonna find out.
It says here, Galaxian was designed to compete with Space Invaders.
Yeah,
So
actually, here's a fun fact.
There.
Here's a fun fact for anybody who's interested in like Namco factoids. If you play Pac-Man long enough, you know how each level is kind of represented by like a fruit or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If you actually play Pac-Man long enough, your level will be represented by Galaxian. You can collect a Galaxian in the center of the screen.
Huh.
You can flip the cartridge, so to speak.
No, I mean you get so far in the game that they stop with fruit and you get like Galaxian. I know because I've had cousins who are that good at the game, so I've seen it.
Number 91, The Sims. Gonna go with this one simply because I think The Sims is what started the casual gaming market. It's what proved that you don't have to be a gamer to enjoy gaming.
Plus, anything where you can go a little bit crazy, trap people in a house and burn it with them in it is okay by me.
Oh yeah, put them in a pool, remove the ladder, and sit back with some popcorn and enjoy the gibberish screaming. I think that makes us bad people. Not much to say. It's The Sims. Everyone's heard of it. A lot of people hate it, and a lot of people love it. Number 90, Baldur's Gate 2 Shadow of the Am. Again, I don't know anything about this game, but I've heard things about Baldur's Gate, not this one in particular. But if people say Baldur's Gate is good and this is on the list, then I guess this is a good sequel.
Yeah.
So interestingly, when I Google it, the first thing that pops up is the G4 TV website. There we go, Wikipedia page. Yeah, this is a BioWare game. Well, there you go.
Yep.
Root for BioWare. But does it deserve its spot on the list? Not even I heard of it till just now. So it's just like,
Well, I have heard of Baldur's Gate, but
yeah, I know these are PC games, and again, this is before even my knowledge of PC games, so I can't really say. Because I'm assuming because it's BioWare, it's probably being heralded for an amazing story, because that's what they do.
Well, I think the way it was heralded is it was able to take the Dungeons and Dragon type setup and bring it successfully to PC as an RPG.
Makes sense.
So it pretty much took the whole Forgotten Realms thing of Dungeons and Dragons and brought it to the PC and did so successfully.
Yeah, that's what
and
it's
I've heard a
looking
lot
like
of
through the
things about the
screenshots.
Baldur's Gate.
It's like a single-player
Baldur's
Dungeons
Gate,
and Dragons thing.
Yeah.
Woo,
Right.
D&D.
89, Left 4 Dead. 4-player co-op, yes.
Yes.
I'm going to take issue with this one, and this is why I'm going to take issue with it. It's not going to be the last time you're going to hear me say this about something on this list. I don't really mind a Left 4 Dead game being in the 89 slot. My problem with it is that its sequel improved on Left 4 Dead. So Left 4 Dead 2 improved on Left 4 Dead in every conceivable way, but the sequel's not on the list.
And Left 4 Dead is essentially in Left 4 Dead 2 as well, so leaving Left 4 Dead 2 off the list is kind of just insulting to a superior game.
I thought instead of having Left 4 Dead here, it should have been Left 4 Dead 2 instead. If you have a game that is essentially superior to the game, then it should either be higher on the list or should have replaced that game. And not doing so is a slap to the face. So I disagree for it just for the simple fact that Left 4 Dead 2 was superior than the original game.
Yep.
Much to say there, because I completely agree. 88 Double Dribble. I'm on its Wikipedia page right now because again, this is a game I haven't.
I'm going to bring it up, and again, this is going to be like a kind of broad thing as we go forward. It seemed as G4 went through the list, they seemed to have a love affair, not just with sports games, but with classic NES sports game. They had to have Double Dribble was the NES basketball game. They had to have a basketball game. We have to have an NES soccer football game. We have to have an NES hockey game. You know what? If these games are really extraordinary, then I don't mind. But if you're just getting one, just putting on the list because it's an NES, it's a classic NES sports game, I have a little bit of a problem there.
Yeah, especially when there could be other games that could take up a slot.
Yeah, you're taking up a slot. You're stealing a slot from a better game.
Yeah, because like I gave benefit of the doubt to NBA 2K11 because it was, I'm assuming it's the best that basketball games can offer. And in that run, I'm going to say that Double Dribble, being an NES game, is probably the worst basketball games can offer besides trying to play paper basketball on a lunchroom table.
Yep.
So bad choice is bad.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was pretty much saying it here because this is one of those things where we're gonna run into it again later on down the list. So I had to say it again now because we're gonna run into it at least 2 or 3 more times.
Mm-hmm. Mass Effect 2. I can actually see this one over Mass Effect 3 for the thought that Mass Effect 2 starts strong and ends strong. It ends making you want more. You're satisfied with the game, whereas Mass Effect 3, it starts strong, but it ends in a heart-wrenching moment, and not a good heart-wrenching moment.
And I think
spoilers.
I think what they did successfully with putting Mass Effect 2 on this list is what they did unsuccessfully with putting Left 4 Dead. Is they recognized how superior it was to the original game, and so they chose it over the original game.
I agree with that because I'm playing Mass Effect 2 right now, and Mass Effect from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2, they simplified everything down a little bit, and they gave you a little bit more power and range. And instead of having to spend skill points to put into your various skills, they made that simpler. You no longer now have to spend points in Intimidate or Charm to raise your Renegade / Paragon options that you get in conversations. So to get the best Paragon and Renegade conversation options, you have to now select the Paragon and Renegade conversation options.
Which
So
I actually
there you go.
like even more the way they did it in Mass Effect 3, where they have you pulling from the same pool. So the entirety of the pool has to be high enough to get the Renegade and Paragon choices you want.
Yes.
86. This is another double dribble. It is Outrun. It's a arcade racing game.
And and it also appeared, I believe, on the Sega Genesis, because they almost always appeared on the Sega Genesis, because Sega Genesis played arcade games. And I have played, I don't know whether I've actually played Outrun, but I have played racing games from the Sega Genesis era, and there's really not much going on there.
Yeah, it says here that it's just on arcade.
Okay.
Yeah, the arcade looks like you're sitting in a dune buggy.
Something from that era, I don't see the appeal.
Because any modern racing game does what Outrun would have done, and it does it better. There's just no reason for this to be on the list. Silent Hill 2, why is this not higher on the list? It is 85.
Don't feel bad, because you're not the only one who's going to be bitching about placement when it comes to games on this list. I promise you that right now.
This is one of the best
I'm actually going to start arguing about placement when we get higher on the list, because it's going to start getting really bad.
Oh, yeah. Because, the fact that Silent Hill 2 is down here means that the stuff high on the list is probably going to be equally horrible.
Oh, there's one game on there that I really, really have a really big bitch fit about.
All right, 84, Wii Sports. No, 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 no.
Well, if you're going to put a Wii Sports title on the list, then put the superior game on the list. Wii Sports Resorts has more games, and they include some of the best games from Wii Sports, and they don't include the worst games from Wii Sports. I mean, boxing on Wii Sports was horrible.
Yep.
It was actually absolutely bad.
You want to lose your TV? Have a Wii boxing match with our faulty straps.
Yep.
Yeah. The best games on Wii Sports, which were bowling and golf, were brought back for Wii Sports Resorts with better controls and more options, as even new courses. So I mean, if you're going to include a game and a sequel does better in so many regards, then you better put the sequel on instead.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure that there are better games than Wii Sports Resorts. Should it be an 84? No, maybe the back 10, if anything.
Yeah, if you're going to put it on the list, number 100, put it where Pong was. Let's see, 83, Ninja Gaiden for the Xbox.
And the reason I basically made the distinction on this list is because there was actually another Ninja Gaiden for the original NES, so I wanted to make that distinction.
Yeah, I actually would have thought that's after Double Dribble and Outrun, I would have assumed that was the one they were going for, because a lot of people like that, even though it was hard. And Ninja Gaiden for the Xbox was hard, but it's fair. If you pay attention to your environment and play smart, you're not going to die. So I actually think this is good in its spot. 83 is a good spot for this game, because it's not perfect, but it's good enough for what it is.
I agree.
82, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Why is this not Brawl?
Actually, I agree with it not being Brawl. I agree with Melee being the only game on the list, because the reason is, if we look at the Smash series as a whole, Brawl in many ways was a step back for the series. It looked better graphically. It had a few more fighters, but as far as total package, Melee delivered more than Brawl did.
You included tripping in the game. Even on a competitive scale, that does not make any fucking sense whatsoever. I'm sorry, but Smash Brothers Melee, no, you shouldn't.
Smash Brothers, I don't think was ever meant to be competitive. It's meant to be a parody on fighting games.
my thing is Brawl I enjoy, but I think as a complete package, Melee was better than Brawl. So I agree with it being the only Smash games on this list. As for it being 82, I guess I could give that pass. I might want it to be a little higher on the list, but I think I'm kind of comfortable with it where it is.
Yeah, because I don't look at it as a competitive experience, I would want it to be Brawl simply because more characters, better graphics. For me, that's all that really matters in a Brawl game because, like I said, I think of it as a parody on fighting games. You've got your favorite characters beating the crap out of each other while the crowd is screaming for whoever's doing the best face beating.
My thing with Brawl is it didn't deliver on so many fronts. It pretty much wasted space with
Single player?
well, not just a single player, but there were certain extras we did not really need, and they focused on that instead of giving the experience we needed, which included online play, which they did not deliver on.
Oh yeah.
So Brawl was a step back, where Melee was a step forward. And
I'm not sure how much the online play is the fault of the Brawl itself, so much as the PlayStation Network, because I've heard of online play fall through for so many games on the PlayStation Network.
Brawl is for
not PlayStation Network.
Wii.
Sorry, yeah, Nintendo Network.
I think the reason is I basically show it that Brawl was delayed multiple times, and you would think that they would spend that time kind of tweaking and perfecting the online play. No, it has horrible online play, and we have a bunch of extras we did not need. Meanwhile, a few months later, Mario Kart Wii comes out without ever being delayed, and it has perfect multiplayer matches. I mean, I have not had a dropped match or lag in a match since I have played the game. And why Mario Kart, the people behind Mario Kart could do that without ever delaying the game, and the people behind Brawl could not get that right. To me, that's astounding. That's mind-boggling.
I'll have to agree with you on that one. Number 81, Resident Evil. I was going to complain about this, but then I remembered higher on the list I saw Resident Evil 4. So why is this not Resident Evil 2 is the next thing that pops into my mind. But then again, I haven't actually played the original Resident Evil, is the third thing that pops into my mind. I've played Resident Evils 2, 3, and 4. Loved those. Haven't played 1.
I think one thing that pops into my mind, for me, I have a hard time getting into the Resident Evil thing. Survival horror. It's not really my genre. I picked up Resident Evil 4 just because of how praised it was.
Because it's not really a survival horror game. It's an action game in the guise of survival horror.
Yeah, well, when I was watching G4, the thing with Resident Evil is, again, they were praising it for what it brought to the genre. So I wonder again if it's a change thing, if it's because it introduced this. I still remember being so scared the first time I played this. Whether or not it was a game that deserved to be there.
I can see that.
I give it. It's good. I mean, I love Resident Evil 4. I've played the storyline through twice, and going through on a third time now, actually.
Now, number 80. If this were the second game in the series, I'd think it's perfect at 80 because of what it is, or even the first game. But Gears of War 3, I would actually rate this higher. Because on top of polishing the gameplay to a mirror shine, they did the same thing to the story.
Yep.
They actually gave it an intelligent, if melodramatic story.
And that's what has me pissed off, because there's a few games that are towards the top, or at least, in at least the top elite area tier, that really make me go, why are you here? Why aren't you down there? Why isn't this up here where it should be? And, I mean, it has me throwing fits. Because, I mean, when I heard that Gears of War ended up at 80, I was like, okay, whose bright fucking idea was that?
Well, if it makes you feel any better, number 79 pisses me off equally as much. Psychonauts is a top 15 game. I'm not going to say it's top 10, but this is top 15.
That is an amazing game.
Yeah, I put that in my own personal list. It's in the top 10 best games ever made for all of the things it does right. Perfect visuals, the visuals complementing the story so well, the story managing to be a very dark story, but having such a cute overtone on it.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to have to look at this next one.
I actually know a bit about this one.
Spy Hunter.
Spy Hunter.
Spy Hunter is kind of like a car game. You're in a car and it has weapons type deal. I pretty much the only reason I know about it is because every few many years another company will try to make a Spy Hunter game with trying to meet the level of the original game. So I've heard a lot about this game. It seems every decade or so a new person that tries to make a new Spy Hunter game and it fails miserably because they cannot meet the level of the first Spy Hunter. So, I mean, I've heard good things about Spy Hunter. I've heard way more things about Spy Hunter than I ever had Burger Time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is actually, I'm seeing screenshots, and this game actually looks pretty fun.
Yeah, so I don't mind it being where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then number 78, Excite Bike.
77, yeah.
Okay, 77, Excite Bike. How did that beat Gears of War 3 and Super Smash Bros. Melee
Now, if it was
Resident Evil?
The Excite Bike for the N64, maybe, but that was Excite Bike 64. That was a good game. Excite Bike 1.
This is the original. This is the NES game.
That's what I'm saying. This wasn't a good game back with the NES. I mean, for the times it's good, but compared to now, this is not a good game.
I think it's on the list because you have a lot of people who still play it, and there's a lot of nostalgia with this game compared to some of the other games I saw.
I mean, people who still play Excite Bike are freaking emos.
Still, it's don't care. How did it beat these other games that are below it right now? Some of these games that are below it, yeah.
Again, maybe it does deserve to be on the list, but again, back 10.
Back 10, yes.
Okay. Now, Blades of Steel for 76. I looked at this and I thought, this must be some kind of action game I've never heard of that's really good. Google it. It's a hockey
game. It's a NES hockey game. Again, it's like they were trying to put in as many NES sports games as they could. I had never heard of this game.
Now, I haven't actually played a good modern hockey game, so I might let this slide if good modern hockey games don't exist. Because it doesn't seem like a game that would easily translate to console or even PC controls.
Well, I mean, even from what I heard, it didn't sound like a game that should be in slot 76.
Yeah, so I'm going to single screenshot of it, so I can't really judge.
From what I hear, I guess there will be points when if as two of the opposing like you and an opposing player will get like in a fight. I mean, it's an actual fight, and whoever loses will be put in the penalty box. I mean, weird rules like that only could exist in 8-bit rules.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more of a fond memory type game that years later you go back to and go, really, I was interested in this. From what it sounds like, does it deserve to be on the list? I'm going to go with Double Dribble. I don't think it should. It's just wasting a spot.
Yeah. Fallout 3. Now this one I'm annoyed at the placement, but I don't know where I would place it on the list. Because
maybe not
45
high,
maybe?
Maybe in the mid-50s area.
Yeah, something like that. Like, this is a good game, but I can see why it wouldn't be as high because it's also a buggy game. But this is one of the games that defines the genre of FPS RPG. So, perfect for this list. 74, Star Fox 64. Haven't they not played Star Fox Assault?
My thing is, this is a completely different rant, but it has to do with what you just said. I'm serious. Star Fox fans cannot be pleased.
No,
if you look at the original Star Fox, the original Star Fox was crap. I mean, I'm looking at the original. I've tried playing the original Star Fox. You can't. It hasn't aged well. Star Fox 64, yeah, it's good, but every single time the Star Fox series has tried to innovate or try to do something different, the fans will complain.
Mm-hmm. Star Fox Adventures. I liked that game, but lots of people didn't like it because you're running around with a staff.
And people complained, and they're going, "Well, it's breaking. It's breaking the mode Star Fox was in." They don't get it. That was the third game in the series. It's kind of the idea. Star Fox really didn't have much of a pattern yet.
No, Star Fox, the first Star Fox for SNES, I believe, or NES, was much different than Star Fox 64, and Star Fox Adventures was different more than that. And I like Star Fox Adventure the most out of the three, but if I'm going for a game in the Star Fox series, I'm going for Star Fox Assault because it's like Star Fox's answer to Halo.
Yeah. Star Fox Adventure. What Star Fox Adventures try to do is, I mean, it has the things that Star Fox 64 had. It's just in between levels. You have the Landmaster, you have the R-Wing, but it's also focusing on Fox McCloud as a character, and it was trying to evolve the series.
And it did.
But what happened is you had the fans go, "We want something for Star Fox 64." So of course Nintendo answered them with Star Fox Assault, which is essentially what Star Fox 64 was, only better. And then they complained again. Mm-hmm. So they gave them something that was similar to what they had before with a Star Fox game for the DS, and they complained again. The thing is, Nintendo keeps on trying to answer fans' cry, and fans keep on whining.
Yeah, I kind of could agree with that. Now, I see 73 is Mega Man 2, and as far as the standard Mega Man games, I can see this one, though I would probably put Mega Man X higher than this, because it expands on the formula so well and does everything right.
Yeah. I've seen a friend of mine play Mega Man X and I believe Mega Man 2, and to be honest, they deserve their spot on the list, yes. But they probably could have done a little bit higher because they have aged well a little bit.
Yeah, Mega Man 2 for an NES game has aged very well.
You can still play the Mega Man games for the NES and still have a fun time, and that's what makes a successful NES game is you can still play it today and still have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, 72 is the original Mortal Kombat, and this is, I think, is another example of a game that has aged very well because of the rotoscope design. The characters look very nice, and the combat it's fighting game combat. It doesn't get any simpler, and it doesn't really change.
I still believe it's a kick in the freaking pants because that game was one of the true epitomes that really started off fighting games. So,
well, I'm going to say more of another game that's coming up on the list actually deserves the credit for that. But I mean, it was up there.
I know which one you're talking about. I don't know why they would have the number there for that one.
Right,
I also have another fighting game rant that I'm going to wait to get on until we get up to that one.
All right.
Number 71, Wing Commander 2. Have nothing really to say about this because it's an MS-DOS game that I've never played. I've heard good things about the Wing Commander series, never this in particular, but
I've never heard of it. So
yeah, never heard of it.
Benefit of the doubt, it was probably a good game that I was just too late into PC games to have heard of. Let's see. Now I'm looking into 70 is Star Wars Arcade.
I've actually seen this one.
Actually, yes, I've seen this one, and I think this deserves its spot right here on the list. Number 70 is good for this game because I think this game showed what arcades could really do.
Well, one of the things is with Star Wars Arcade is you know which one I'm talking about, right? Which one I put down because there are multiple Star Wars Arcade games out there. This isn't the one where you go and you have to fight Darth Vader with. This is, very rudimentary graphics, flying, shooting things with a very rudimentary line Death Star.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I can kind of understand it, but it's another one of those things I think they've done better since then.
Yeah.
And for this to be
if you're going to have TIE Fighter on the list, I don't see a reason for this game to be on the list in retrospect.
Yeah, and this is... Besides TIE Fighter, this is the only other Star Wars game on the list. And come on, there has to be... Well, no, this isn't the only one. There's another one coming up. I forgot. But as far as a Star Wars fight game, why don't we at least have a Rogue Squadron here?
Yeah, actually, yeah. TIE Fighter could have probably been replaced with Rogue Squadron because that's the one thing you can say about the TIE Fighter flight games is that they improve upon each other without destroying the formula they've made.
Or if you're going to put a Star Wars game in there just in general, why not put in, like, Knights of the Old Republic?
Actually, that was the game that's coming up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can't have one of these lists without KOTOR.
It's actually where that was.
Top 30. We're not there yet.
All right.
Oh, 69, there it is.
69, Double Dragon. No. I mean, it's a good game. It's aged well, but there's plenty of games in the current generation that does what it does and does it better.
And even there were games during its generation that did just as well. I mean, so
Mhm.
I guess the reason it's there is because it pretty much created the beat 'em up genre.
Mhm. Number 68, Koizumi behind me will probably have a fit that this is this far down on the list, and I completely agree with it being on the list, but I have never played it myself. But the way I hear, this is a top 10 game, and that is Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time.
I actually right now have also beside me the top 40 from when Nintendo Power back in 2006 did their top 200 games, which was only on Nintendo systems.
Hmm.
They put it at number 36 on their list, which compared to this list, it would still be higher up on the list. So I would think at least it should have been the top half of the list. So yeah, I disagree with the placement. Placement should have been higher up.
Yeah. Um,
Woo.
67, Minecraft. This game has shown what good or how much fun you can have in a game with absolutely no goal. So yeah, this, if anything, it created a new paradigm for game design.
Sure,
It definitely
why
deserves
not?
to be on the list. Yeah.
It deserves to be on the list. I think it
Again,
deserves
this
its
is a game
spots.
I don't know about placement. 67, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know.
So, well, 66, Assassin's Creed 2. I absolutely love this game, and from my understanding, especially, I've only played the first two Assassin's Creed games so far. It's definitely better than Assassin's Creed 1, and from what I understand, it's actually the best in the series so far.
Yes, that's what I've heard too. That's why I haven't no complaints.
It's an absolutely incredible game.
I've
I'm
only
looking
played
over.
one in Brotherhood.
I'm trying to look over some of the ones up here. What do you think, Eddie? Maybe it should be a little higher on the list. I don't know though.
I can say that compared to some of the other games that are toward the top, it could be a little bit higher on the list for me because I mean I've played all the Assassin's Creed games so far. 2 definitely I would say. See, this is a tough one for me because like I loved Brotherhood. Revelations I was a bit disappointed with, but this is where it gets tough for me because like 2 did best 1, and Brotherhood. You know what? I'm just gonna stick with 2 for right now because I'm
Yeah.
inner monologuing with myself. Just shut up, you.
2 was a better game. As far as which one was better, I guess we're gonna have to wait. I'm gonna have to wait and see until I actually get to Brotherhood. So
66 or no, 65 Unreal Tournament.
Yes, it deserves its spot at least on the list.
Yeah, I'm going to assume this is talking about the entire franchise because I've played all the Unreal Tournaments and each one gets better than the one before it.
unfortunately, I think they don't do entire franchise. They're probably talking about Unreal Tournament 1.
Yeah, so if it's like I said, as the franchise itself, it definitely deserves a place on this list, probably top 20 for
Yes,
just all the things it's done for the FPS genre, and the game itself holds up really well. Even
And
Unreal
plus-
Tournament 1 holds up well today, so
Yeah,
I
and-
can't complain about it.
And plus, not only that, it deserves its spot because of its arena shooter and esports placement. I mean, it's one of those things where it's an amazing game.
All right, 64, NBA Jam, another basketball game.
Boom shakalaka.
Oh.
Yes, it deserves to be here.
Downtown. Sure, why not? I mean, this is one of those
Yeah,
games where
I've actually heard good things about NBA Jam, so all the other basketball games on the list that we've already talked about, get out of here, gone.
They
yeah,
can suck it. Yeah, NBA Jam.
Let's see, 63, Wolfenstein 3D.
yes, Wolfenstein is amazing.
Yeah, I can't really. Actually, I think it's at a good placement too, because it's a good game. I wouldn't say it's great, or rather, I would say it's great. I wouldn't say it's amazing. So 63, good spot for Wolfenstein. 62, Civilization 2. We were talking about that earlier.
Yep.
I've never played a Civilization game, so I don't know. I've heard they're very deep. But-
Yeah. It sounds like a game where I would get in and I would like lose an entire day to it. So
61, God of War 3. If God of War 1 is not higher on this list, I will go Kratos on the person who made this list.
You better start looking for their name because this is the only God of War game on the list.
Oh yeah, because I'll give them this. This is like Gears of War. This game polished the shine on the God of War gameplay, but it threw the story out the window and then pissed acid fire on it. Actually, no, I think God of War 2 did that, but God of War 3 continued it.
Yeah.
60, Contra, yes.
Yep.
Contra ages amazingly well.
Yes, it does.
In fact, The Adventures of Batman and Robin is pretty much a Contra clone that ages very well as well. Good soundtrack and everything, and that would make it good for this list as well. Let's see, 59, Maniac Mansion 2, Day of the Tentacle.
What?
I've heard
actually
really good things about this game.
I've heard really good things as well, and I was actually expecting because when you're talking about LucasArts classic point and click adventures, you hear of two games. You hear of this game, so I didn't mind it being on the list because I've heard a lot of good things about it. But you also hear about a second game which is nowhere on this list, and I was kind of disappointed. Where is Secret? If this game is on the list, where is Secret of Monkey Island?
Yeah,
that game's incredible too.
Yeah. Day of the Tentacle is I've heard Yahtzee mentions it a lot whenever he's talking about good adventure games, which there aren't a lot of. But if you're just going to pick one adventure game, Day of the Tentacle, probably one of the best you can go for.
Yeah, the thing with the LucasArts adventure games, anybody who's played them, is they're hilarious. They're about as funny
why
as
did
you can
LucasArts
get.
decide they wanted to stop being hilarious? Oh yeah, because Star Wars sells.
Yep.
At least because of the whole "let's milk the Star Wars" teat thing, we got Psychonauts in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
At least Telltale Games is continuing on with the adventure game tradition at this point.
Yeah. Ultima Online. This is one of those games that people way nerdier than me would talk about. I assume it's amazing just because it has the Ultima logo. So I have nothing to say. This is a PC game that's way out of even my waters, and I am the PC gamer, so. Moving on. 57, Pokemon Red and Blue.
Absolutely.
Deserves to be on the list, yes, but...
I actually love the placement. 57, really good.
It's a good
for this.
place.
Because this, I would actually say, for me, I believe Gold and Silver is the best that Pokemon had to offer because they were still original with their locations and their Pokemon. But Red and Blue is good as well.
I can't say anything about Gold and Silver because I have yet to play it. Maybe I should drag up my emulator on my computer and try it.
Dude, you should.
Yeah, I suggest it because, like I said, the thing I don't like about games after that is the Pokemon just they fall into a formula. There's going to be a bird Pokemon. There's going to be yada yada. And while Gold and Silver still followed the formula for the starters, its other Pokemon were vastly different than what had come before.
But for me, Gen 1, I never get bored playing Gen 1. I mean, that's one thing. To make a successful Pokemon game now, if you can hold my attention so I continue playing, you've done a good job. Gen 3 couldn't do that. The GameCube games could. But Gen 1 is consistently, I can go back, I can play those games, and I can get hooked right to this day.
Yeah, that's one of the things I say about if they could just continue to remake Red and Blue and Gold and Silver for the end of time, they would have my money every time. Just increase the graphics, keep the same mechanics, and I will buy them every time. Because they're just that good, and I will waste my money for something that's that good. Super Street Fighter 4 at 56. Yes.
Yeah. One of the things that I think they brought up with this game was because it resurrected the fighting game genre.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of the big, not only because of not only how good a game it is, but also because of that is why it's on the list.
I will say this though, the one thing it doesn't do so well is character balance, because I believe that as of now, one of the nicknames for the game is Super Dudley Fighter 4. 55, Kingdom Hearts.
Yes.
Wonderful game.
Yes. Deserves to be on the list. I would say it deserves higher on the list because it's such an amazing game. And please, can we get number 3 already?
Yeah, definitely. I want them to just they can stop making the link together games. If they want to continue linking the story together, fine. Just get Kingdom Hearts 3 out and then continue linking the story together. Because I'm not buying another Kingdom Hearts game until I get that third one. Damn it.
Well, from what I hear, Dream Drop Distance is actually going to set up the third game, so that means I think it's coming.
I hope so. Although they are also working on Birth by Sleep 2.
As soon as it does, it's pretty much every freaking nerd on the planet is going to go, shut up and take my money!
Yeah, that's the one thing I think. I think Square Enix has developed a crippling fear to money and success because they release crap. They just keep releasing crap. And to be fair, the Kingdom Hearts games haven't really been giving us crap. They've just been stagnating in a cesspool of it's okay.
Dear Square Enix, release Kingdom Hearts 3, and while you're at it, start working on Chrono Break. Thank you.
I'd also like a Radiata Stories sequel, please. 54, Gauntlet.
Yes.
Any Gauntlet game. They're pretty much the same thing. It's good.
Gauntlet is awesome. It's great to play with friends.
I'm a fan of Gauntlet
back
Legacy
when
for PS2 myself.
back in Ohio when Kosai used to have that video game exhibit, which they took down for some unexplained reason, they had Gauntlet there, and it was free, by the way. So you had free credits. You could continue being there the entire day, and I must have spent the entire day with 2 or 3 other people staying there and playing Gauntlet all day long. So yes, Gauntlet definitely deserves to be on this list.
53, Deus Ex. Now, I have to thank this game just for existing for Deus Ex Human Revolutions, which I've been playing religiously for the past couple days. That game's easily my favorite ever made, and I have a feeling that once I get the money and purchase Deus Ex, it will go up on my list of top games as well. Because from what I understand, it's the game that leads us to games like Fallout 3, which is another one of my favorite games.
So if you're going to put Fallout 3 higher on the list, then Deus Ex also has to rise farther up the list.
Yeah, definitely. 52, Rock Band 3. Haven't played it. I don't think I would rank a Rock Band. Maybe Rock Band 1 I would rank higher than Guitar Hero 2, but I've played Rock Band 2, and I would not rate it higher.
I think it with this game is because they added the keyboard for this game. So they added some functionality and they added some stuff. And they also added the possibility that it was had almost endless replay value because of almost endless amount of songs you can get DLC.
51, Ratchet and Clank Going Commando.
Ratchet and Clank!
And from what I understand, this is the second game, and it improves in every way upon it on the original.
Oh, entirely. I actually think 51 is a good place for it. Maybe 50 because, and actually I'm very glad for 50 because 50 is actually no, 50 is Sonic the Hedgehog. It should be Sonic 2.
I was actually going to bring that up. I'm actually having a problem with that because Sonic the Hedgehog, yes, it's a good game, but it is not the best game in the Sonic franchise, especially 16-bit. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 improved in every conceivable way upon the original Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, I would leave it up to the fans. Me personally, Sonic 2 is the game that got me to be a gamer. I absolutely love that game. In my opinion, it's the best Sonic game out there. Now, some people could argue Sonic 3. Some people could argue Sonic and Knuckles. I don't care. It definitely shouldn't be Sonic 1.
And I'm going to say this is going to get me some ridicule, but one of my guilty pleasure games is Shadow the Hedgehog.
But yeah, I will agree with you. It should be Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Yeah. 49. I'm actually surprised this was not number 1. Really surprised this was not number 1, and I think it deserves to be on the list, and its placement here is perfect. Angry Birds.
If that would have made number 1, I think you would have had a freaking
My brain would have exploded.
Of groups going outside and just getting their pitchforks ready and just going.
The new news item tomorrow would be that the G4 buildings were burned down by angry gamers.
Yeah, very true. Like I said, it's a good game, and it's probably the best you're going to get on iOS, or the best casual game you're going to get on iOS.
How does it beat Sonic the Hedgehog, though? That's my question. Sonic the Hedgehog is an icon
Sonic
Granted,
rocks.
But the Angry Birds are icons now too.
yes, but granted, Sonic has gone down the tubes a little bit in the past few years. It still beats Angry Birds by a mile, so I would rank it higher.
Especially if we're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 2,
Yeah.
which I could play all day long.
hmm 48 Tecmo Bowl, already mentioned that. This should not be on the list. This should never be on the list.
I've heard some stuff about this. Unlike those other NES games, I've actually heard about Tecmo Bowl.
I
And
played
some people
Tecmo Bowl, and I liked it at the time, but I don't really think it aged well. And as a football game, any Madden game is better than this.
Yeah, people said at the time that it was great, but does it deserve to be on the list? Again, if it was on the list, maybe back 10, but not this high up.
47 Mist. I'm looking into that now because
It's a
heard of
point and click adventure game in a way. It kind of still frames. You explore this island. It takes a lot of time. You kind of have to devote yourself to it, and it has mind-numbing puzzles. I mean, these things are hard. You are going to lose weeks, maybe months on this game because it's that difficult. But it is a classic. I've seen Myst. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful game.
I don't think I've ever played this game, but I've obviously watched someone play it because this is a very familiar looking game.
Yeah, I've watched somebody played it. I've heard a lot about the game, and I remember some of the puzzles. But yeah, it's an iconic game. It's a classic game. I agree. It should be on the list. I think this might.
46 Red Dead Redemption.
Yes, deserves to be on the list.
Grand Theft Auto with horses. Can't really complain. I can't say much about its placement. It's a fun game. It deserves to be on the list. 46 makes sense.
Yes, it does. And it's a really fun game for me because I played through the story. Pissed about the story, but it's a good game.
45 Metal Gear Solid. I'm assuming this is the PS1 version.
Yes, the original Metal Gear Solid.
The original Metal Gear Solid was on NES.
Oh no, that was just Metal Gear.
Oh yeah, Solid. Doy, stupid.
Solid was PS1. They've made like remakes, not kind of like where they shined it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But either way, it's the same exact story. So Metal Gear Solid for the PS1.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I've never played this game. I've seen it played for bits, and it's one of those stealthy games, so I assume I'm going to love it automatically. And I got a copy a couple years ago for my birthday, so I should really just buckle down and give it a go.
Yeah, I think it deserves to be on the list.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. 44, Grand Theft Auto 4.
I'm going to bring something up right now because it's going to be a game we're going to get to later. But number 25 is Grand Theft Auto 3. Now, is it just me? Do both games really need to be on the list?
No, and I was actually going to mention it here. Grand Theft Auto 3, or rather Grand Theft Auto Vice City, deserves Grand Theft Auto 4's spot. The only thing I could give Grand Theft Auto 4 is that it has really good online multiplayer. In that it gives you a world to fuck up. And it's really good at letting you fuck up. The only thing that's wrong is it loses the goofiness of the fucking up that you got in Grand Theft Auto 3.
I guess that was just my thing. I mean, if both games were terrific, then I have no problem with it being on the list. But
Grand Theft Auto 3 is terrific. Grand Theft Auto 4 has a good multiplayer. It's nowhere near terrific.
Maybe it's just me, but maybe for me, especially with as many good games out there, maybe I just want just one Grand Theft Auto game on the list.
Mm-hmm.
To be perfectly, it does make sense, but also if you wanted to, you could also throw Grand Theft Auto San Andreas in number 4 spot.
Yeah. Let's see. Quake 3 Arena.
Yes.
Really quickly, what is it with games when they make sequel numbers, they put them in Roman numerals? What is the deal with that?
To seem like they're hoity-toity.
It
has nothing to do with it, but I just noticed that most of the games when it was sequel time was like Roman numerals all the way, baby.
But Quake 3 Arena deserves its spot. It was an arena shooter, big time influence in the esports community. Hell of a fun game to play. It deserves a spot.
It's kind of ugly, but it ages well.
Yes.
Ghosts and Goblins. Nah. It was okay for the time. I guess it aged well. I don't really have much to complain about. I don't know if I'd put it on the list. but I can't really fault them for having this on the list. And 41, Super Mario 64. If you're going to have Super Mario 64 on the list, why is it not number 1 instead of Mario Brothers?
Yeah, why isn't this game higher on the list?
Yeah.
And here's another thing. Here's another thing about G4 messing up. If you go on the G4 website, they actually call this game an adventure game instead of a platformer.
It kind of was.
It's an adventure platformer, is how I would say it. But then this is the invisible pigeonholing platform. Yeah. What do the words mean other than what people assign to them?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the first truly 3D platformer that pretty much. I mean, it pretty much set up how 3D platformers would work, and then Rare would later perfect the formula.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a platformer. It's not an adventure game. One adventure game, we'll get to a game later on the list that's definitely an adventure game.
40, Tony Hawk, Space Invaders. We have Galaga on this list. It's better in every way.
Why is Space Invaders so high, I guess?
Yeah, Space Invaders is another back 10 game. It's not bad. It's just it's a game that didn't age well. Its gameplay is meh. It's for people who want to get the top score, and that's about it. Moving on, 39, the reason I said Tony Hawk, Pro Skater. I played Pro Skater 3. I'd replace it with 3, but...
I love the Pro Skater series, but for a different reason than some people did. I just like to goof around, especially if you got a friend who would input all the cheats where you're kind of like invincible, unlimited grind, and all that stuff, and just goof around as crazy characters. That was Pro Skater for me.
Yeah.
I think some of the sequels were better, so I have a problem with that.
I have Tony Hawk Project 8 here, and it's a good game. It's pretty much Pro Skater, just the natural evolution, so... Until they started coming out with the gimmicky board controllers, I think the game before that would be the best in the series. Except for maybe Underground. The Underground games were for people who were fans of Jackass.
Yep.
38, Super Metroid.
Absolutely deserves to be on the list.
I'm not sure if I would replace this with... I've played all the Metroid games except for when they ventured into 3D. I tried to play Metroid Prime, but it kept killing me too much. But I believe Zero Mission is the newest game I can think of in the line, and it's pretty much Super Metroid, just in Game Boy Advance graphics.
Zero Mission is actually a remake of the original Metroid. Super Metroid was held by many fans to be pretty much one of the best games in the series, and for good reason. So I don't mind it being on the list. Mm-hmm. The only game that's normally put above Super Metroid in the Metroid series is Metroid Prime. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't mind Super Metroid being on the list.
On the list, I'm actually going to be concerned because I've played little of Metroid Prime, but it was really good from what I played.
Yeah, Super Metroid, I don't mind being on the list. Maybe I would have had it be in the top 25. In fact, I might not even mind its placement. I love Super Metroid, but the fact that Metroid Prime is not on this list just bothers me. I think both of them should have made the list. If Super Metroid made it, Metroid Prime needed to make it, and they both need to make it regardless.
Yep.
All right.
In fact, 37. I would have rather had Metroid Prime than Halo. Speaking of.
Speaking of, number 37, Halo. Now, I saw Halo 3 up further on the list, so this game... The only reason I would have it here is for the things it did for the first-person shooter.
Why not have Halo 2? Halo 2 was better than the original Halo.
Exactly, and Halo 3 is better than the 2, except for maybe game or multiplayer. Most people will say that Halo 2 had the best. I say that Halo Reach has the best. Does that make any of us right? Not really.
So in fact, let me go again. Let's just knock Halo out of this list and just replace it with Metroid Prime.
Or let's put something else that could go in its place.
36, Arkham City, Batman.
Awesome game. Incredible.
Yes, good game. Deserves its spot, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
35, Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Yes.
If you're going to go with the Castlevania game, go with the one that started Metroidvania. 34, Counter-Strike.
Yes, big, influential in the
Yeah,
esports world.
yeah.
Stick with the original Counter-Strike. Don't go to Source because from what I've heard, Source is bad. Or at least, I wouldn't say bad, but eh.
All right, 33. Why is this not Final Fantasy VI? I guess it's because this is the game that made the Final Fantasy series go from. Now I'm actually going to steal this from the blurb from G4, but they took it from popular to pretty much the franchise builder. This is the game that the franchise is built on.
And I don't mind Final Fantasy VII being on the list, but again, it's going to be some of the games that are above it that will just get under my skin. And if Final Fantasy VII is on the list, why isn't Final Fantasy VI? Because from what I understand, I mean, I'm not big in the Final Fantasy franchise, but even I know that Final Fantasy VI is essentially the best, one of the best. Most people agree it's the best game in the series.
Yeah, in the main franchise, Final Fantasy VI is the best. I would say, but I'm very biased with this. I'd say that Final Fantasy Tactics is the best that the series has to offer.
Oh my God! I gotta freaking clean a mess now. Sorry, gotta clean up my mess now. There are so many. Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy X. I mean, come on. There are so many, even with Final Fantasy Tactics, there are so many games that are just like right there, just in the Final Fantasy epitome that you could throw in. How is it that most of those games aren't higher up on the list when there's going to be a few games where even I'm going to rant and bitch and moan because,
Speaking of which, 32,
yeah, but
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Well, I was going to go back to Final Fantasy. At the same time, it's great to say there's so many good Final Fantasy games, but it's just the fact that even then you have to show restraint because we're talking about, again, in general. I would have had just maybe Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 7, and no more. Because those are genre defining. Those are just system defining. Final Fantasy 6 is widely regarded as one of the best RPGs of the 16-bit era, if not one of the best RPGs of all time. Why isn't it not here?
Yeah, if Tactics isn't going to be on this list, then I believe I would want Tactics Ogre on the list because it is those two games pretty much define the strategy RPG.
But as much as I like strategy RPGs, and it sounds as much as you two love strategy RPGs, it sounds like there's a lot of gamers who don't get into that. So again, it's a very niche field. So yeah. I understand why we don't find them here.
It disappoints me, and it's just one of those things to where, how did Final Fantasy VII, as genre and freaking huge defining as it is, end up that low?
Yeah, 33 is not the place for this game at all.
No, it deserves top 20. Top 10, I'd say.
Getting back to Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, I never got the appeal of this game.
But a lot of people did.
Unnecessarily hard.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who did though. I mean, this game has a huge following even today, so I understand it being on the list. So I guess I kind of do understand this game.
I don't think I've really seen a game that does what this game does. So I guess if you're going to put it on the list, if you're really, this game seems to be a genre of its own, the first-person boxing game. 31, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
No.
I've played this game. This is top 5.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I mean, I don't see why it's above this because there are a lot of games that are lower than it that are great games, and they're great games as is. Skyrim and some of the games that are released now, you cannot put in the same league just because of the fact that when they're released incredibly buggy, incredibly glitching, and we're talking about game-ending glitch here. That later Bethesda will release patches to fix it up. But if you're buying it and you don't have access to the internet, you're in a world of hurt here. And that's the thing with Skyrim. Skyrim may be an amazing experience, but it's still initially an incredibly, as of release, if you just buy it and look at it as it is released, it's an incredibly glitchy, incredibly buggy experience. So maybe it's a good game to be on the list.
On it because I played the PC version, and with the games like this, I believe the glory of the PC version is that there isn't anything as a game-ending glitch. If something glitches out hard enough, there's no shame in hitting the little squiggly button and typing in a console command to revive the character who just died for no reason.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe I won't mind this being on the list, but I just don't think it needs. I don't think it deserves to be this high, especially since of the fact about how glitchy it is on release, and just it's too new to really tell compared to a lot of these other games which have withstood the test of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, will Skyrim
If-
still hold its appeal 5 years from now? That's the question.
Well, I'm going to assume it will, because Morrowind and going even back, Arena and Daggerfall still hold their appeal to this day. All three of those games have aged extremely well. Oblivion is aging well, so I can only assume Skyrim will too.
Yeah, but to put it above something like, again, Final Fantasy VII. Hello.
So I mean, maybe it deserves to be on the list, but maybe it needs to be a little further down. Maybe not much, but a little further down.
Yeah.
In fact, I can take Halo's spot. I don't care.
Let's see. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. We have Street Fighter 4 on the game. I've never played Super Street Fighter 2.
Absolutely, this game deserves to be on here because not only is it a great game that it's a game that
Having trouble
withstands the test of
vocalizing?
time. Yes, I'm having trouble talking. It withstands the test of time, but it's also the game that is credited with kind of jump-starting the I won't say starting, but it's pretty much the game that popularized the fighting genre in the first place.
Yeah.
It's this game and not Mortal Kombat that made the fighting genre so big in the first place.
And it was one of those things that also helped competitive fighters.
It also kind of sort of inadvertently killed it later on because they kept on doing what they're doing now and released incremental updates. Now here's my what?
It was like Hyper Alpha, so many different things you could just tack on to that Super Street Fighter 2 name.
In fact, Super Street Fighter 2 is actually an incremental thing too, because this isn't just Street Fighter 2; it's Super Street Fighter 2. It's just not Super Street Fighter 2; it's Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which a lot of people think is the best version of it. Now, to get on the subject, because this is going to be essentially our last fighting game on the list. I understand the Street Fighters on here. I understand the Mortal Kombat's on here. They deserve their place. My thing is, where's the Soul Calibur? Whether it's Soul Calibur 1 or Soul Calibur 2. I would think at least one Soul Calibur game would need to be
or rather the fighting game that focuses more on the story than, puts the story next to the fighting as something you should be paying attention to.
The Soul Calibur game gets a lot of attention, not only in the gaming world but also the fighting game world. I mean, it is one of the top tier fighting games. Well,
yeah, it introduced me to the fighting genre because I got lured in by interesting characters and an interesting story, and that led me into at least trying fighting games that pretty much have no story. And I say that about Mortal Kombat because its story is relatively garbage.
I mean, I'm not saying put the latest Soul Calibur on there, but at least the first one, which was eye-opening at the time, or the second one, which a lot of people considered to be the best in the series. At least put one of those on the list.
Mm-hmm.
And it astounds me why it's not, especially you have your Street Fighters and you have Mortal Kombat. It's not that far I've reached to put a Soul Calibur game on the list.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. 29, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Eddie, you talked about this game earlier, so now you can kind of...
Which one?
Knights of the Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic. I've heard many of great things about Knights of the Old Republic being a Star Wars RPG game. There were many things, like I said, I've heard really great reviews about it. Haven't personally played it. I've been wanting to play it, but it's kind of hard to get an original Xbox nowadays, so... I have friends who...
That's right, Xbox 360 really isn't backwards compatible, is it?
It's not really, but...
Only with specific games.
But I've heard really good things about it, so...
Yeah, it's pretty much the Star Wars Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Almost, actually, no, it is exactly. Mass Effect was pretty much built on the engine of this game. And if you like Mass Effect and you like Star Wars, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't like Knights of the Old Republic. 28, Super Mario Kart.
I'm going to disagree with this one. And here's why. I don't mind a Mario Kart game being on the list, but Super Mario Kart, I have played Super Mario Kart. This game has not aged well. I mean, you may have had fun playing it back in the 16-bit era. Go back and play it now. It will annoy you, especially with modern kart racers. I would prefer I would prefer a new Mario Kart game. I like Mario Kart Wii, but maybe Mario Kart Wii is not the best Mario Kart game. A lot of people consider Mario Kart DS to be the best Mario Kart game. I
Um,
would even
for
take Mario Kart 64. Any Mario Kart game other than Super Mario Kart.
I I would either go with Mario Kart DS or Mario Kart Double Dash because Double Dash did something different and really fun with the Mario Kart formula.
Yeah. So for me, I would say any other Mario Kart game except for Super Mario Kart because that game has not aged well at all.
Now I have a feeling when I get further up in the list, this one is going to really grind my gears. But number 27 is Chrono Trigger. At least it's on this side of 50.
Yeah.
I love this game. I absolutely love this game. I think it should be a little higher on the list, at least. Even if they moved it up two slots, more than two slots. There's some games coming up on the further up on the list. I totally
I'm
disagree
looking at
with.
number 24 right now and seething with rage.
Yeah,
I did too. Trust
It-
and believe. I seethed with rage.
it's just the fact when we were talking about Chrono Trigger, just like when we were talking about Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy VI, we're talking about one of the best RPGs of all time. In fact, Chrono Trigger is put up there with Final Fantasy VI. They're kind of in an eternal battle over which one was the best of the 16-bit era.
And I'm pretty sure
I
you can get them anthology together in the same pack, both games.
Yeah, I own this game in multiple forms. But by the way, I love this game. This game is incredible.
I have the
Not only
DS
does it have a
version.
time travel story, which was an eye opener, but it does it incredibly well. It has a very well balanced battle system, very well told story, and you don't mind that it's on the short side for an RPG because it's just done so well. The music is incredible. I mean, for an overall package, this game is probably one of the best RPG experiences you can get. I do not understand why this isn't higher up on the list.
Yeah. 26, Ico. I've heard good
Oh,
things, never played it, can't find a copy of it.
this game is good. I actually own a copy. I played a little bit of it. It's beautiful. It's a good game from when I play. I do not mind its placement on the list.
25, we mentioned earlier, Grand Theft Auto 3. This is one of the best games in the series. I think Vice City is better, but that's a personal opinion. If you're going to have a Grand Theft Auto game, it deserves at least a 25 space if you're going with the best in the series. So,
In fact, I think maybe you should just have, like I said before, only had one Grand Theft Auto game. You know, it probably would have been better overall because you could have gone more games that were deserving of this list on this list.
yeah. 24, the game that made me seethe with rage over Chrono Trigger's placement, Madden NFL 2005.
Again, why is
would
there
you
a Madden game on this list? Get it off my list.
I
I
mean,
can
I've
maybe
played
understand.
2005. It's the only Madden game I like, but it is not a top 25 game.
No, it is not. Especially over something like Final Fantasy VII and Chrono Trigger and Super Smash Bros. Melee and just almost Gears of War 3 even. I do not consider Madden 2005 to be a top 25 game. Get it the fuck off this list now.
I mean, does it? I mean, does it deserve to be on the top 100? Are there a lot more games that can go over it? And I think yes. I think the same with now that we can look back at NBA 2K11. This has to be a really impressive game of football for it to be on this list in
No,
the first
it is
place.
a really impressive game of football. I think the only more impressive game of football I played, and I haven't played a lot of it, so I can't even compare it to this, but was Blitz the League, which allowed you to actually see when a character's testicle got knocked off by their shin bone. But moving on, 23, Halo 3. I wish it was Reach, and I would put it in 23. That's a good place for a Halo game.
Yeah.
For the
I actually
definitive
think
Halo game.
maybe Halo 3 because there were a lot of fans who did not like Reach, so maybe Halo 3 it could be a lot more universally agreed on.
Yeah. My problems with Reach had a lot to do with what I perceived to be as plot holes. I don't know if they're actually plot holes, but whatever. 22, Panzer Dragoon Saga. Yes, 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 and yes.
Is it really that good? I have not played the game.
It is good. It is really good.
And the thing is,
22,
I hear that they even said it. They even said in the G4 Top 100 games that if you're trying to track down a copy, it's going to run you $500 online.
Oh yeah. If you really want to play it, emulate it. I don't have a problem with you emulating it because you can't find this game anymore. They don't make this game anymore. If
Now,
they
see,
don't
I've-
make it, you can't buy it for retail price. Emulate it.
Or I wouldn't mind finding at a used store, but I would want it to be at a reasonable price because I do have a Sega Saturn, so I wouldn't mind playing it.
Now, see, you mentioned Dragoon. I'm trying to figure out where Legend of Dragoon is on this list.
It's not
'Cause
on
I
the
don't
list.
see it.
Well, I think
I
that's one
know.
of those. I think that again, that's one of those fan favorite games. Kind of like I know Netu loves Legend Dragoon, but it's kind of like me. I love the Shining Force series, but I know it's not going to be on this list.
Resident Evil 4. I think this is the epitome of what a good Resident Evil game is.
Yes.
I might have placed it a bit higher, 15 maybe, but 21's good for this. I like it.
Yeah, I
Love
think it is.
20, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. The best Call of Duty game, the only Call of Duty game worth playing so far.
You can knock it down on the list a lot further, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I
Does not
it
deserve
would
a
be
top
on
20
this side
spot.
of 50 for me, but I'm not sure how. It wouldn't be 20, but it's
It
good.
sure
Replace Halo with it. There we go.
No. Replace maybe Final Fantasy VII with it. I'm sorry, but it doesn't
Switch
deserve to
those
be that
places.
high.
Oh, switch it with Final Fantasy VII. Okay.
Or just switch it with something
19.
lower.
19, Diablo 2, the epitome of dungeon crawling. Well, what's not to like? That's a good place for it. 18, Miss Pac-Man.
Better than Pac-Man, which was a good call on their part. Is it top 20 material?
No, it's simple. There's no story. It's good gameplay, but it's not even a top 50 game. I wouldn't put this on top 100. In fact, I would put the Adventures of Pac-Man above this game.
I probably would put it in the top 100 because of how iconic and how well the Pac-Man games, especially Miss Pac-Man, which the writer is better than the original Pac-Man, holds up to this day. So
Yeah,
I
it
would put it
holds
on the
up,
top
I just
100,
wouldn't.
but I would probably put it in the lower 50.
17, StarCraft.
Sure, why not? Because StarCraft.
I haven't played StarCraft 2. I've played StarCraft and it was good. It is the epitome of an RTS. Whatever. 16, Half-Life. I have played little of Half-Life 2, and I haven't played Half-Life, but from what I can tell, Half-Life 2 is the better game. Why is it
Yeah.
not here?
That's what I've heard. So
It also has such a cult following. It's just,
Yeah. Maybe this list is, as you said, maybe it's what these did for gaming in general, in which case, sure, Half-Life started the good story-driven FPS, but...
Yeah. But it's like I said before, if it's going to be as far as their importance to gaming, then they should have said that. But they never did.
they said top 100 video games of all time. And it's just like, ugh.
No.
Yeah.
And
15.
then to back them up, they're bringing in celebrities that I'm going. Wait a minute, you brought in a bunch of football players to say Madden NFL is number 24. Of course they're going to say Madden NFL is number 24.
They probably wanted to say Madden NFL 2005 was number 1 because it's their career. They're paid to show up, say Madden is awesome, and then leave with a paycheck.
You have a bunch of celebrities there. I mean, I would like to see more people who are going. I like the people that were in the game community. Here's what I told Eddie. I would actually like to see a top 100 video game list that's not made by G4, that's not made by IGN, but the group of people who the group of video game developers who are
the GDC.
Yeah, who basically have their awards every year. Who's behind E3? I want these guys to get together and put together a top 100 video game list because I know they're going to do it right.
Yeah. Because
People like
G4
Jeff
is doing this
Keighley.
list. This list is publicity.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
want
and I'm sorry. I mean, they finished the top 100 video game list today and then went straight into cops.
honestly, you want people like Jeff Keighley, Adam Sessler. Definitely Adam Sessler because, he is a veteran in the community. Maybe Jeff Keighley, I don't know. But definitely you're going to have to put Adam Sessler in there. Let's see. Maybe Kevin Pereira? I don't know. I know he just left G4, so...
Donkey
15.
Kong is number 15. Why is this not Donkey Kong Country?
Yeah, why Donkey Kong Country?
Donkey Kong, again, it's Miss Pac-Man. It deserves to be on the list, but I don't think it needs to be this high.
Yeah, it's a good game. It's one of those iconic games that is good because you can't really mess it up. You could remake
I would rather
it in
see.
modern
I would rather
graphics.
see.
It would look great
Okay, sorry.
and play
I'd rather
great.
see Donkey Kong Country on here. And actually, let's go with what many people consider is the best Donkey Kong Country game, Donkey Kong Country 2.
Yeah. 14, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. Haven't played the Uncharted series. I don't like the main character, but from what I can tell, this is a good game. I have nothing to say other than that.
Nice. I mean,
So 13,
sure.
the game that I will say, why is this not in the top 3? Portal.
I'm going to take exception to Portal. It's a good game. Portal 2 is better. Why is this not Portal 2? Portal 2 was incredible.
Yeah, I'm going to go. Portal 2 was, well, it depends on how you qualify it. Portal 2 multiplayer is the better game because it's got the puzzles, it's got the humor, it's got everything. I think the reason Portal is here is because Portal did what no one thought it would do. It was an indie game released with the orange box that is pretty much the driving force behind the orange box now, because it is one of, I can't take fault with it, and I can take fault with every other game on this list. But Portal 2 does everything right. Good gameplay, pitch dark humor, perfect length.
Yeah, Portal 2 is the better game in the series. I mean, even I would even say its single player is better because I have never laughed so hard playing a game.
The story was good. The gameplay was a prolonged, easy tutorial for the multiplayer, which, if that's what you're looking for, Portal 2 is excellent.
Portal 2 was fun. I enjoyed it. It had a nice mix.
12 is Doom 2. Why is this above Diablo 2 is the only thing I can say. Doom 2 ages well. It's a good first-person shooter. It's not above Diablo 2, though.
And, ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further, I think this, as we are about to hit number 11 and go into the top 10, I think this is where we're going to start tearing our hair out. Just warning you.
Oh, yeah. Now, this game, I have a Zelda fan behind me who will say that this is probably the best in the series. I myself, having not played any of the 3D Zelda games for any length of time, but having seen, what's it? The one with Midna in it. I can't remember that.
Twilight Princess.
I would put that game here, but again, if we're going with games that revolutionized anything, sure, this game's good in its placement, I guess. Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, a game that needs no introduction.
Why is this not in the top 3?
Ocarina of Time number 1 is better than Twilight Princess. It has aged, in my opinion, it's aged very well. I'm
gonna have to pick up a copy for the 3DS when I get that because I can't play the old version of it.
Yeah. It's an incredible game. My problem is there have been multiple top 100 or top 200 games done by a variety of different organizations over time. You know where they normally put Ocarina of Time?
1.
Why is this number 11 then?
Maybe they wanted to give it 2 1s because they thought it was deserving.
Yeah, because obviously as I look at the top 10, there are these games. These games don't deserve it. I mean, Nintendo Power has done a top 100 list and top 200 list, and Ocarina of Time has repeatedly won out. I think IGN's list it repeatedly wins, and it's deserving of it. I can continuously play this game. I enjoy this game. It's aged very well. I mean, some people may not think it's aged well on the N64. I think it still ages well. I can still enjoy playing on the N64. I still don't mind the graphics.
I can't stand the graphics. That's pretty much is what's gotten me is and maybe it's because I'm stuck as Kid Link, but the graphics just grind my brain.
It's not graphics for me. It's more along the lines of the story and the gameplay did this mesh so well together. But I mean, putting it at number 11, especially when you take a look at a few other games that are up there, it's kind of a slap to the face.
I know. It's Ocarina of Time.
This next game is the direct slap in the face to this game, actually. Moving on to another game that needs absolutely no introduction because this is the game that most people think when you say video games. The game that has destroyed people's lives and schedules. World of Warcraft.
Why is this in the top 10?
Yeah, this is my number 11 game. 'Cause I'm going to set it just outside of the top 10 because I've played it. It is a good game, but it's not a great game. It's deserving of 11, but not top 10. So switch that with Legend of Zelda.
Don't switch with Legend of Zelda. Move it
no,
backwards. Move Legend of Zelda up to number 1.
Yeah, switch Legend of Zelda with Mario Brothers. Kick Mario Brothers. Move World of Warcraft down. And number 9, Shadow of the Colossus. This game, I have a love and hate relationship with this game because I love the giant boss fights. I just don't like navigating between them, because I get stuck too often and have to work around, and I end up spending more time finding my way to the boss than actually fighting bosses. I love the boss fights. It's just getting to them that's annoying.
What I've played of this game is absolutely beautiful. It's fun to play. I enjoyed my time with this game. I kind of had this struggle when I saw it was over Ocarina of Time because it's just this beautiful game. It does a lot of things right, and I'm going, well, is it better than Ocarina of Time? Is it not better than Ocarina of Time? And I think I've come to the conclusion it's not better than Ocarina of Time, but I think it is top 10 material. I think I like its placement.
I don't know. If you combine the way bosses are fought in a Shadow of the Colossus game with a Zelda game, you might have one of the best games ever made, or if not the best game ever made. Number 8, GoldenEye.
Yes. Yes.
For a 007 game, sure. I mean, the last 007 game I played was based on the Call of Duty Modern Warfare engine, and it was not very good.
This is the first person. This is the first person shooter that all first person shooters are judged by.
Yes. This is also the first person shooter that originated the idea that inverted controls is the way it should be. And I'm going to stop for this this rant since everyone else has had their rant. GoldenEye makes the assumption that the controls should be inverted because the players who like this game will say that you're holding the back of the player's head. So when you move your hands right, they look left. When you move your hands left, they look right. When you move your hands down, they look up, and up, they look down. No, I am the person when I'm playing. So when I look up, I look up. That's first person. I am not the guy holding the back of their head. I am James Bond, god damn it.
Exactly. And I mean, the inverted control thing that kind of gets annoying until you can get used to it. Once you get used to it,
Inverted controls are for flight simulators.
Yeah.
Now, number 7, if you're going to go for a Super Mario Brothers game, again, take Mario Brothers off 1 and put Super Mario Brothers 3.
Here's another mistake by G4, because if you actually watched their top 100 games, they actually said, it's pretty much a direct quote, that Super Mario Bros. 3 took the original Super Mario Bros. Formula and perfected it. Well, if a game perfects the original game's formula, ergo better than the original game, which means it needs to be above the original game.
Exactly.
This is pretty much considered one of the best platformers of all time. Why is it below Super Mario Brothers? It should at least be top 5.
Mm-hmm. Which and the number 6 game, along with the number 1 game, is what leads more credence to the idea that these are the games that did the most for the industry. And this is The Legend of Zelda. Because if I was going to put a 2D Zelda game up here, I'm not sure where I'd put them. I'd put it right next to a 3D Zelda game, obviously. And for me, it would be Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening is an incredible game, actually.
Yeah. I have the black Link's Awakening DX cartridge for the Game Boy Color, and it is one of my favorite games ever made.
I can't find those. I'm trying to get rid of my original to get the DX, trade it towards the DX game. I can't find the DX game.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend Amazon more than likely because.
But let's not talk about me. Let's talk about the list.
Yeah.
Number 5. This game. Yes, sure. If you have to go with NES games or just games that define it, perfect game, Tetris. Everyone loves it. Yeah. I don't know anyone who hates it.
It still holds up well. Do I like it in its placement in the list? Not really. I think I would move it back a little bit.
Yeah, I'd probably put it in the top 15.
Yeah,
not sure top 5. Number 4 is Asteroids.
No,
no,
absolutely not. Not this high.
I
needed to be back
like
10.
Asteroids. If I
I'm
was
not
going
into
to
asteroids.
if I was going to play a game, or if I was going to choose a game like this, I'd go with Beat Hazard because at least you
Yeah.
can listen to your own music.
I don't even enjoy games that are like asteroids. My cousin one time for Christmas gave me Geometry Wars. I hated the game.
Hey,
I don't
Geometry
It's
like
Wars
not.
is
Geometry
good,
Wars
man.
either, but
Hey, it's not for me. Okay, so for me, I'm not into asteroids. I'm not into asteroids ripoff. I don't get asteroids. If you're going to put it on the list, put it in the back 10. Why is this in the top 10?
I wouldn't even put it on the list. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
not a very good game. Maybe it's just not for me, but I've played Beat Hazard, which is pretty much an asteroids ripoff. And
I don't even think it's aged well.
yeah, it definitely
No, it
hasn't aged well.
hasn't.
It's a vector graphics game. Number 3, BioShock.
Why
Thank
is this top 5 over The Legend of Zelda, over Super Mario Bros. 3, over GoldenEye, and
Just
over
accept it
Ocarina of
because
Time?
BioShock is a good game. At least they put something good in the top 5 because we've already got Tetris, Asteroids, and
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers in the top 5. So 3 and 2, and I'm not very fond of 2. Like I said, Link's Awakening is my favorite because 2 is a Link to the Past.
I like A Link to the Past being in the top 10. You know, it's normally a lot of fans will fight between A Link to the Past being the best game or Ocarina of Time. I think Ocarina of Time is the best game. Link to the Past kind of solidified what the original Legend of Zelda did as far as the formula. It kind of solidified it and put into place.
Don't forget about
Ocarina of
Majora's Mask now. I mean, because a lot of people will argue that Majora's Mask is better than Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time was revolutionary. It pretty much set up what a 3D Zelda game was, and I like Majora's Mask. I like Ocarina of Time. I probably would put Ocarina of Time above Majora's Mask.
3 days. Coming down there.
And so, I mean, Link to the Past, I think should be down below, and even Nintendo Power itself put Link to the Past. They put it in the number 3 slot and put Resident Evil 4 above Link to the Past, and then Ocarina of Time number 1.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, for me personally, I would make it Link's Awakening because I think yes, it did solidify the pattern, but I think Link's Awakening and even Oracles of Ages and Oracles of Seasons did the pattern better. But it could also be that I'm biased against the art style of Link to the Past.
Yeah, I would disagree. Link to the Past, I think, is a better game than the Game Boy games, and I think it does deserve to be top 5. I just don't. I think it needs to either be number 2 or number 3. I don't think it needs to be above Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, and of course we've mentioned it multiple times. Number 1 is Super Mario Brothers, a game that if you're going to have Super Mario 3 or any other Mario game on the list, this game doesn't need to be here.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's good. It is really good for when you're drunk, stoned, or just want to have fun, but it is not one of the best games of all time.
And again, referring back to Nintendo Power, who ought to know, they don't even put Super Mario Brothers 1 in the number 1 slot. They put it at number 9. It barely made the top 10.
Yeah.
And they're Nintendo. So, I mean, why is this number 1?
This game would get an honorable mention on my top 100 list. It's like this is the game that started me into video games, but it's not the best game of all time.
Well, I would put it on the top 100 list. Yes, I probably would put it in the top 20, maybe even the top 10. It does not deserve the number 1 game. Yes, it's pretty much influenced every game creator out there. But, you know, they bested their own game with Super Mario Bros. 3 and every subsequent Mario game since then. I mean,
I'd even say they bested it with Super Mario Brothers 2.
Well, technically, the real Super Mario Bros. 2 is the Lost Levels, which is exactly like it, only harder.
Yeah.
Super Mario Bros. 3 definitely bested. It should be below Super Mario Bros. 3 because that's exactly what G4 said. Also, if I'm not mistaken, when I was watching G4, they mistakenly called it a puzzle game.
What puzzle? Run, jump on mushroom, grab, flag, win?
I'm just thinking at this point, G4's high.
Yeah, because there's a lot of games on this list that deserve to be higher up than rather be lower down. I mean, come on.
And there's even games, even when I was looking at MP's top 100, and we're only looking at Nintendo Power stuff that appear on Nintendo systems. Where are some of these games? I'm just going to mention a few of them. Of course, we have mentioned a Metroid Prime. Where is that? Mentioned Soul Calibur 2. Why isn't that here? Really quickly, Beyond Good and Evil. That game's lauded as a masterpiece that appeared during the last generation, and it is missing from the list. I have played it. That game is incredible. What happened? And I'm sure we can start thinking of many, many more. I think, as you guys can see, I think this list is defective.
Yeah, it is.
That's an understatement,
More than
by
just
the
a
way.
little.
Very little. I mean, it's one of those things where there's a lot that could be there that isn't. I mean, like you just said, Beyond Good and Evil, Donkey Kong Country, Phoenix Wright. In my opinion, I love the Phoenix Wright series.
I don't mind that they showed a lot of love to the NES, but they showed love to the NES with games that didn't deserve love.
Yeah.
And they should have showed a little bit more love to the SNES, to the 16-bit era, especially the SNES, because there were a lot of groundbreaking and terrific games that came out during that era, and they just snubbed them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's The one game I was disappointed in not seeing on the list was the game that sold the best peripheral controller that any game has ever sold to people, and that is Steel Battalion. If neither of you have ever played that or seen that game, it is a mech warrior style game where you have a giant control panel controller. It's like a $200 controller, but it's one of the funnest games that has ever sold a peripheral for that much money. And I would have liked to see that at least bottom 10.
Yeah. My thing is, I mentioned it briefly, I talked to Eddie about it, is, I mean, no matter what, a top 100 game would be over-encompassing top 100 video games would be hard to do. And that's why I think, if anybody to do it, you need the people who are in the industry, who know better.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, if it's G4, if it's IGN, if it's just us three, we're going to miss stuff. It's going to be a little biased. You're never going to be able to cover everything completely.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, if it's
Now,
Game Informer.
I think what's a lot more manageable is maybe go do a top so many games by genre. That would probably be a lot more manageable.
That make a lot more sense because you wouldn't be comparing two games that have nothing in common.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you compare Ocarina of Time to let's take Resident Evil 4? Really isn't a comparison to be had.
I would say the controls are better, but I'm not used to that control scheme. I've tried it. It really gets on my nerves.
The stop and shoot thing.
Yeah.
It's
I think that's what they're fixing in 6 is you can move and shoot. So it's like, yay, finally.
The problem with it though is Resident Evil 4 still had pretensions to being a horror game, so stopping and shooting added to the tension of zombies, or rather mad Spaniards chasing you, in that you had to stop, ready your gun, and shoot, and if you weren't careful to run away again, you would get a chainsaw right up the ass.
Yep. Because freaking that chainsaw sister thing, it scared me the first time I actually played it, because I was playing it in the dark like an idiot.
All right, we are running out of time, so
I think we ran over time. This is the longest one
yet. Midnight Gaming Podcast. Have a good night.